call this regular meeting of the Summerland Council of Monday, March 23rd to order, please. Corporate Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the regular council meeting minutes of March the 9th.
Thank you. Council, are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, motion to accept them. Thank you. Seconder, yes. All in favor? Thank you. Any changes to the agenda?
No changes this evening.
Okay, thank you. Goes right down to delegations. Zoe Kirk, please.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Waterman and councillors. I'd like to start off this evening by introducing Sergeant Jim Beck of the Conservation Officer Service, and he will begin our presentation on wildlife as it pertains to our region and Summerland. And then I'll take over for the last part.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for letting us speak to you tonight. My name is Jim Beck. As always said, I'm a Conservation Officer. I reside in Summerland here, as well as my other four field officers. We're all Summerland residents. The mandate of the Conservation Officer Service is to enforce natural resource laws, respond to wildlife conflicts in order to protect human health and safety, the environment, personal and public property and government revenues. Over the last season, 2013 and 14, the South Okanagan Zone, which consists of a geographic area from West Kelowna to the U.S. border, Rock Creek to Manning Provincial Park, and up to Merritt, just north of Merritt. Our wildlife conflict reports that we dealt with that came through our call system were 920. Out of those 920, 161 reports were for Summerland only, and that equated out to 17.5% of our entire zone's human-wildlife conflict reports. 91 were black bear reports, 14 cougar, 11 coyote complaints, and various other miscellaneous complaints. For enforcement stats, during that same time frame, we had 478 enforcement reports to us, most of which involve fish and wildlife or waste-related reports. Out of that, we generated 177 charges and 285 warnings, which equates out to $32,810 in provincial revenue. The next slide is an example of a human-wildlife response that deals with public or human safety as well as personal property. This is bear damage. There's another shot of the bear damage. The owner of the house in question was at home at the time and actually went out of his house to try to scare the bear away. Didn't work very well. The bear ended up charging him and continued with his rather destructive process. The result, the cause of this turned out to be dog food being stored improperly within his open garage, as well as garbage. Mice were stealing the dog food, caching it inside of the walls of the house, and the bear decided that he wanted to get at that. So he modified his house a little bit, as well as his car. So that those little red dots, if you see them on the screen, that's all some kind of kibbles and bits that the mice decided to cache and the bear decided that he wanted to get at. So that's an example of some of the conflicts that we have to deal with. So this is one of my least enjoyable functions, as well as my officers. We generally get into the job to protect wildlife resources and the environment, and we do have to destroy a number of bears. It's not something that we enjoy, and we try to reduce that whenever possible by whatever means are available to us. That's an example of one of my more enjoyable job functions. I get to do some backcountry patrols with horseback and enforce wildlife regulations and fishing regulations in the backcountry. So ways that you can help us to help you and your community people. Our reporting line is 24 hours a day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, reporting violations or problem wildlife occurrences. But there are some other ways that the community can assist us that Zoe will be touching on, and we'd strongly support any help that you can give us in trying to reduce the human-wildlife conflicts that do occur in Summerland.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Mayor Waterman, Council. So I'm going to take over and just give you one of the support roles that we try to help the Conservation Officer Service with. The Regional District partners with the BC Conservation Foundation to bring Wild Safe BC to the Regional District and all of the municipalities that lie within. So I started this job back in 2010, and that was as a result of Area E director at the time was really frustrated because we were destroying 6 or 7 bears in Naramata a year. So he began and put money towards the program. Very shortly thereafter, the rest of the areas that had bear issues, again, put money towards the program. So we started out very humbly, and within 4 years, we now have Naramata to Bear Smart status. That means that they have basically all learned the valuable lessons of storing their garbage. We have curbside bylaws in effect, which are very, very effective. We don't have to enforce them. I send a warning letter, and usually a warning letter means 0 recidivism rate. So it's exceeding, it shows that the program can work. So in 2014, on June the 18th, Naramata was awarded the status by the Ministry of the Environment. So going from 6 to 7 bears a year to 2 very unthrifty, unhealthy bears in 4.5 years. So these are the school children who all carved soapstone bears to award themselves that status. So once we had Naramata under control, we saw that that model had worked so well that we took the curbside bylaw and we overlaid it on areas D and F. That's Culloden, Heritage Hills, around Oakay Falls, West Bench, Sage Mesa, Falder, and calls to Culloden went from 176 down to 3. No enforcement, no tickets, warning letters, and some garbage audits. But it's the warning letters, and it shows the seriousness and the education that goes out with those warning letters that's important. So we did an audit in Summerland last fall, and I was very, very fortunate to have retired Conservation Officer Bob Hamilton volunteer his time to go out and do these evening garbage audits. So we broke Summerland down into zones, and those were the zones that with Jim and Barb and the calls that came into the office in order of priority for those bear calls that Jim had sort of alluded to, 17.5% of the calls are here. So we broke it down into evenings. He went out and did garbage audits, and he showed and tagged garbage, and we have some pretty significant non-compliance rates to having your garbage out early the night before. And what the garbage out early does is it just invites a smorgasbord, not just for bears, but for all of the critters from bears on down. So by employing the letter system or following the Naramata model of saying you cannot put your garbage out before 5:30 on the morning of pickup goes a huge, huge way towards reducing human-bear conflict. So you can see here on this graph, what we have is the number of days before garbage pickup and the garbage to the curb. You can see that Summerland is the light blue. You can see Naramata before the bylaw was in effect, and then the little white markers are after the bylaw was in effect. And that was a year after the bylaw was in effect. Because as we know, you put a bylaw in, we gave a grace period, July the 1st comes and you lay the hammer down, and even though we really didn't do anything, we had 0 cans out the night before. And that slowly moves over time as new people move in and out of the community. But you can see drastically, wham, it's done. And as long as the residents understood the enforcement, but more importantly understood why we were doing it, what the objective was, that you can get results like that. So the simple next steps is we need to be proactive in Summerland. You need to support this program because you do pay into it. The RDOS puts aside $7,500 a year to put towards the program, and then the BC Conservation Officer or the BC Conservation Foundation kicks in $7,800. So it works. And what we do need to do is we need to send out those follow-up letters to those that place their garbage out early. It's a very soft, I have it with me, and you'll have a copy digitized for you. It's just a very simple letter. It just explains that the garbage was to the curb early. It also explains that sometimes we don't know exactly who belongs to that garbage, so we'll send it to 1 or 2 houses on either side if it's not clear. And then we send the education with that. And in your packages that you have in front of you, you will basically see the type of sticker that goes on the can or the garbage. You'll see the type of door hanger. You'll see the type of information that goes in. So we could certainly and simply employ that in Summerland. If you have bylaws that need to be amended or changed that deals with wildlife conflict, please do so. Please have a look at them. Let's see if there's a way that we can make sure everyone's on the same page with having their garbage locked up and inside until the morning of pickup. And then, as the RDOS does, we have a very quick link on our website that takes you to all of the documentation that you have in your packages. Not only is there information on bears, cougars, coyotes, urban deer, raccoons, and snakes, but we also wrote quite a comprehensive set of literature for agriculture. So dealing with wildlife on agricultural properties is a little bit different. So that could be just made with a very quick link. And then lastly, if you really want to go for the gusto, you could consider not whole-scale electric fencing of the landfill, but selective fencing of the landfill, maybe for those direct areas that are being dumped in or used and turned over. Because we have proven with a camera study, which you have in front of you, that bears move from Falder into the landfill, they move from Trout Creek up and through to the landfill, and usually they end up going through Park and the Summerland Ornamental Gardens and shutting it down on their way to and from. So we know where they're going, and we know that that could be curtailed with some fairly simple steps of electric fencing like we have at Campbell Mountain. And of course, with that, as soon as you consider something like that, we would consider a whole-scale educational campaign around that so people would understand what that's all about. So I'll just, these are the, there's the mother. She had 3 cubs last year in Trout Creek. That's where she dens. She had 2 cubs the year before, and I'll expect that she'll probably have 1 or 2 this year. But she regularly goes through Park on her way to the landfill. The nice black bear in the upper corner is one of her sons or daughters from a couple of seasons ago heading back through. And the little bear on the brown side is up from Falder, and he too was working his way through to the landfill. And what we really want to avoid is a high-risk lunch. So if I can be of any assistance to Summerland to implement any of these strategies, I'd be more than pleased to help you. And if you have any questions for either Jim or myself, we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kirk. Any questions from council of either of the speakers? Councillor Holmes.
Thanks for your presentation. I was just wondering, is there any correlation you found between incidences and the time that of people's garbage collection? I mean, people who have an early collection are more likely to put it out early than people later.
Through Mayor Waterman. Yes, we did have to do, and that is one of the challenges when somebody always has to be first in a garbage cycle. It doesn't matter. And in Naramata, at the very start of Naramata, it's 6:45 a.m. So there were a few elderly residents that found that very difficult. So what we did do is we organized that since Naramata, as you go down, one road is picked up on one side and then picked up on the other side on the way back, is we simply made arrangements for their garbage to be taken out at a later time of the morning and moved across the street. So you can work, when there are outstanding circumstances, you can also very easily, which we proved in Naramata, is to provide bear-resistant containers for those people that are, as in Naramata, many of them are, this is a second or third home or a vacation rental. So people are turning over all the time. So we just simply employed bear-resistant garbage containers, and then they could put them to the curb at any time, and that's in our bylaw.
Okay. Councillor Peak.
Yes, my question was about the landfill. You said selective use of electric fencing, and you said something about where the garbage is turned over. Could you just clarify?
Yes, through Mayor. Yes, you have a very large landfill area, so it would be extremely cost prohibitive to fence it electrically. But if you have active zones of your landfill, there are very effective transient electric fences that you can put up and move according to where you are needing to have those fences, where the, let's say, fresh waste is being placed.
Thank you very much for the clarification. I appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Any other comments, please? Well, I have one or two. It sounds to me like we need to chat with you a bit more, because I think there's some things we can do, and we need to maybe, or I need to, or we need to look at the stats a little more closely and see where we can go from there. So I'd like to thank you very much for your presentation, and for both of you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Now,
Up next, we have Ms. Evelyn Reichart. I'm used to Evelyn's face. She's a frequent presenter at the regional district, so welcome.
I thought you were going to talk about drumming.
Yeah, well, it's either drumming or this, and I don't let my wife drum in the house, so you can't drum in here either, so.
Are we good to go here? Okay. Thank you very much. I just want to introduce myself, even though you just have. My name is Evelyn Reichart, and I'm a planner at the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen. And I've been there for about seven and a half years or so. And I'm going to talk to you about the Regional Growth Strategy, the South Okanagan Regional Growth Strategy. And it's an opportunity to talk to new mayor and councils. I know one face for sure has been around through the whole get-go of the Regional Growth Strategy, but I did want to share that information with some of the newer council members to let you know what an RGS is and what it does, and and how it affects Summerland. So I inherited the regional growth strategy after it was adopted. I wasn't actually part of the whole adoption process, so I got to implement it after it's adopted. So regional growth strategies are they're within the Local Government Act. The provincial government has. There's a section in the Local Government Act particular, and it's pretty straightforward regional growth strategy. It's to provide clear direction to promote human settlement that is socially, environmental, and economically healthy. How each of the regional districts do it, they all take a different take on it. So I'm just going to talk about the one that relates to, where do I point this to? That doesn't count in my 5 minutes. So I'm going to very quickly talk about the South Okanagan Regional Growth Strategy. So basically, I'm going to talk about how we got there, why we have it, and basically the what-ofs of the Regional Growth Strategy and kind of the future of it. So this is the map. I don't have a pointer here. It's this is sort of a two-purpose map. It shows the area, the geographic area of the regional growth strategy, and you can see it's just a South Okanagan. The Similkameen areas did not participate in the regional growth strategy at the time, so it is just the South Okanagan. So it encompasses the large red dots on the map show the primary growth areas. So Summerland is one, Penticton, Okanagan Falls, Oliver, and Osoyoos. And there's also a number of sort of smaller rural secondary growth areas. It's my understanding that this map was probably the most controversial section of the entire RTS. So again, the actual work on the RGS started in around 2004, so it was like 11 years ago. And I just put this up here because you can see it did go through a lot of tweaking, if you want to put it that way. It had a number of first and second readings and then got amended, and another first and second reading got amended. Lots of studies, lots of consultation, and so on. But finally, April 1st, which is a auspicious day, 2010, it actually got adopted. And so now we actually have an RGS bylaw. So very quickly, the purpose and the benefit of the regional growth strategy is to really sort of look at the South Okanagan as a whole. Like, I mean, we are a region. The municipalities have, political boundaries, and the regional district have political boundaries, but a regional growth strategy really looks at, how do we work at this together? And so the regional growth strategy really, it provides like an overall policy framework, but it really encourages that cooperation, that interaction, and the dialogue between municipalities and the regional district in terms of, what do we want our region to actually look like. So it's not an RDOS bylaw, that's telling municipalities to do. It's not a municipal bylaw telling us what to do. It is really a very interactive process. So there's 7 key themes. 6 were the original that were adopted, and then in 2011 we amended it for energy emissions. And each one of those key themes has objectives and policies, which I won't go into, but if you're interested, you can look through it. Oh God, only a minute left. So monitoring we have 10 key indicators, and so we have been monitoring. That's legislated that once an RGS is adopted, we actually have to find indicators and monitor in the long term. So we have been doing that. We have 10 key indicators, and we again rely on municipal data, your water use, your landfill use, and so on, so that we put that all together and measure what's going on. In terms of implementing the regional growth strategy, it's a little bit different for regional districts as for municipalities. So for us, the regional district, all of our bylaws and services have to be consistent with the policy of the regional growth strategy. We do the monitoring. And after 5 years, the legislation tells us that we can bring it to the board and ask if they want to consider a full review or not. And so that is what's going to be happening this year. It doesn't mean that they have to do a review. It just means, are they open to the possibility of opening it up again? And again, our official community plans and that map that I showed you, kind of those blobs, is that we delineate those growth areas when we update an OCP. For a municipality, after adoption, each municipality had to amend their official community plan to include a regional context statement. So the regional context statement is the link to the regional growth strategy for a municipality. And it had to be shown to be consistent with policies in the RGS. And if they weren't consistent, how long would it take you to become consistent? So that's the link. And that regional context statement had to be approved by the regional district board. So again, there's that connection of how that works. And every 5 years, the regional context statement needs to be approved by the board. So if there's been any major changes, that's a time for the dialogue between the directors and the municipal members. Sorry, I am over time. I'm just going to, so very, very interestingly, there's been a number of successes, and it's not all because the regional growth strategy said it. Things like the biodiversity strategy that definitely came out of the regional growth strategy. We've had agriculture plans, we've done some climate action planning, done some water metering. A really significant thing is that we had a protocol agreement signed between regional district and First Nations, which was very exciting. Again, the growth areas have been mapped. And the transit has been improved. And I'm not going to say the regional growth strategy did all these things, but I think what the successes show is that people are thinking, in a sustainable manner. So whether it's an initiative of community services or a municipality, I think the whole idea of what the regional growth strategy is trying to accomplish, we're doing that, and you're doing it, and it shows by the successful projects. And that's all I wanted to say. Except to open it up to you to ask you about the RGS, and have you ever heard of it? And what's working, what's not working, and basically how do you use the RGS? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eva. Questions from council? Councillor Peak.
Well, being new on council, I found it interesting the way we were working with it while we're looking at the OCP. So when we're doing those reviews, we're making recognition of what the growth strategy is for the whole area. So you're communicating what's been written before and what other people are working on and what you're working on. And I think that's really worthwhile.
Thank you.
Any comments, councillors? Well, I have a couple.
Okay.
So now I get to have another run at it.
Not necessarily, but.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, I was on the Regional Growth Strategy Committee, so I had certainly involvement, and there were changes that after I left, so to speak, that I wasn't abundantly happy with, but it's good to see that, it's working, and my desire to be part of that regional growth strategy, indeed to be on the board at the time, was to see what Summerland's role was in the southern Okanagan and within the regional district. And it was, a profitable exercise, and I'm glad to see that, there's certainly aspects of it that you're using and that we're a part of. So appreciate the work that you put into it over that time. And one of the things that struck me is the protocol agreement you have with First Nations, and given court settlements and so on since those times, I think Summerland's going to be looking at that and hope for a dialogue with the PIB. So we're looking forward to that. And you're just really glad you could come, and thank you very much on behalf of council for coming this evening. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you very much. And if you want to have more in-depth, you can invite me back or to a committee meeting or a workshop or something, because I really did just, didn't really
I
touch the
recognize
contact
that.
at all. But thank you very
I
much.
think we probably will, because I think this is a new council. We need to understand more fully where Summerland sits within the context of the regional district.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thank you. It's not a bylaw that just can sit on a shelf. It's an ongoing, working
well,
piece.
I
so.
think what I find interesting is that you are within the legislation saying it must be revisited after 5 years to see whether a full review is required.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, that's an interesting statement. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to invite Zoe back. She would like to provide council with an update on the free roaming horse issue.
Sure, of course.
Just for a couple of minutes.
Skirt, please. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Waterman. I'll put my flak jacket on for this one. And in fact, Evelyn's done a beautiful segue, because it was as a result of the signing of the protocol agreement with First Nations that the RDOS, I believe at this time, has about 27 ongoing files where we are working with the Penticton Indian Band, the Osoyoos Indian Band, Upper or Lower Similkameen. So it's been very beneficial. This is one of them. So I'm just going to do a brief history. Usually Councillor Dolly Kruger is with me when I do a presentation, but she was unable to be here tonight. So this is her part of the presentation. And she's absolutely correct when she says that this valley was really built on the back of the horse. And a lot of it was with the horse and was with First Nations labor. So you can see that horses are also a part of the traditional culture of the Penticton Indian Band. So the present day positives is there are still people working with horses over on the band, and the children are still involved, but we've had some issues. Present day conflict. This is West Bench. This is an aerial photograph of horses that are just as much of an issue on the lands at the PIB as they are for the folks of West Bench and Summerland and Sage Mesa and Caledon. And also the present day conflict that often hits the media. The horse in the center that's dead was a horse that was dumped on the PIB that had a tattoo under its lip. So it wasn't a Penticton Indian Band horse, but it seems that there are a certain number of horses that are there that have been dumped, as are dogs and cats. But they do become a real safety concern when they get to the highway or when they have a tough winter and are in a difficult situation. We spent a lot of money so far. In looking at this from 2009 to present, a lot of it was spent in the last 4 to 5 years, but the PIB has spent money on it, the RDOS has spent money on it, but this is not like an invasive species where you can put a backpack sprayer on, you can go out and spray the purple loosestrife and it doesn't come back. These are living, breathing animals, and it's taken decades to get to this critical mass. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that critical mass. When we got together to tackle this issue, when you realize the complexity of it, you kind of want to just put the covers over your head. But we realized in order for us to work as a team and work together as neighbors that we had to have a scale and scope. We had to know what we were dealing with. So because the regional district and the city of Penticton and yourselves were on board with support, we were able to go to the Ministry of the Environment, and they actually donated 6.5 hours of helicopter time and 2 biologists to do a flyover of the band counting horses. So you can see that this is a little bit of their data. That was the flight pattern, so they went over and beyond the boundaries of the PIB. and there are geographic, like GPS photographs, everything. So they were pretty clear that when they did this flyover, that they counted 558 horses and 80 of them were pregnant. Now, the picture that you're seeing there, if you see the little white dot here, that's a foal being born. That's the sack. So as they were flying over, and you can see the degradation to some of the rangelands that are happening. So moving forward, we've spent some time and money at it. We've started to chunk off the scale and scope. So what have we been doing? Well, the PIB Council, Chief and Council, quite rightfully so, up until the horses started to get to be to a mass point, really didn't own horses. It would sort of be like the RDOS or the Summerland taking responsibility for people's free roaming dogs and cats. They really didn't own them. But because we're all governed in different ways, the horse issue was allowed to move forward. Here we have bylaws and we can only have X amount of animals per property, but on reserve, the way they are governed is they have never had to have fences. They've never had to have any sort of containment. And horses being part of their culture often were running free. And oftentimes too, elders would have horses as they were part of the culture, and as long as you had horses and cows, you'd never go hungry. They would die and bequeath their animals, would directly go to the next relative who maybe had never seen the horses, didn't want to have anything to do with horses. So horse owners thought there was maybe 200 horses on the range. So when they found out there were 558, Penticton Chief and Council said, we need to get together and work on this. So we were directed to do horse owner meetings and community surveys, and the community consultation is 90% complete. Because of the way the Penticton Indian Band is governed, they cannot put into a budget or into a plan for dollars until they have complete support from their community to do so. So after getting the scale and scope done, we're now in the last throes of getting the community support. We were asking them very simple questions. How many horses should be on the land? Do you believe in range bylaws? Do you believe in domestic and animal bylaws? Do you wish your chief and council to handle the issue? Well, the results that are coming back are very positive for yes, please do something. And just as much of an issue are dogs. So we've got milestone 1. Milestone 2 we're working on right now. And this is where we've been bringing in some other very important stakeholders. Flint Row has come to the table because they have range use issues as well. We're working towards, once the community gives the directive, then Chief and Council can give Councillor Kruger and I the directive, and we can start looking at what options we have for herd reduction. If they are going to implement bylaws, how long will it be before they're implemented? Can we have a grace period? Can we work with the horse owners to identify and remove, sell to as riding stock some of the horses to move that herd size down? So we can move them down. You know, horses procreate at 18 to 23% per year. It's not easy. There's got to be some fencing and cattle guards in place regardless to keep them safe. And this is where Flint Row has been very valuable, is they've been looking at maybe some cattle guards on Green Mountain Road. The Penticton Indian Band themselves has taken on fencing all from the locality lines behind West Bench up behind Peter Brothers, and there's just a little section of fence down to Max Lake. So some of that is being done. And as soon as that fence is near completion, the horses that are on the West Bench will be moved through that fence. But it's very costly, and it only band-aids it. If you fence them, we could fence the whole Penticton Indian Band, but that doesn't help our neighbors with that issue. So we need to look beyond just a fence. So there could be vaccination programs once the herd is down to a manageable size. There could also be some successful rehoming programs that have been done for 20 years in the States at a prison. We happen to be building a prison very close by. So these inmates work to break the horses, and they sell them for between $1,200 and $1,500 a piece. And Penticton Indian Band used to be very well known for their horse flesh and their horsemanship. So some of that could be recreated with these horses. Organized sales, band-owned businesses, that's stuff that can be implemented, but we still have to get over that mountain of horses. So hopefully I have given you a very quick, like speed dating on a huge topic. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions from council, please? Well, just a couple of comments myself, if there are no questions from council. Councillor Barkle, yes.
Yes, we've talked about the horse problem because we live in Prairie Valley and then come charging through there. It seems like a lot recently. And my wife is a horse person, and she actually took one of those horses off the Indian band land and was a Canadian championship. She won a Canadian championship on that horse in her sport. And she has always suggested recently that one way of making the horses more attractive to other people, which you reduce the herd by sales, is to introduce a couple of some really outstanding studs into the herd. And then it'd be sort of more of a natural process. Maybe the others would be gelded, and then you'd produce some really nice horses that would have sales potential.
Yeah, through Mayor Waterman, yes, thank you for that. And we'd love to have that story, if your wife wouldn't mind sharing that with us and what discipline it was. There are people that would love to have Penticton Indian Band horses, but where we have to get to is we have to get to that point where it's either legislated by chief and council, that there is that bylaw in place, because then that motivates the horse owners that we have to then get back to the table to say, which ones are you going to keep? How are we going to get yours fenced in? How? Because most of them are owned or are progeny of those that were branded and set out. And in fact, you're absolutely correct. They were breeding bucking stock about 20 years ago, and they actually introduced some draft horse stallions out there, which is why they're good and sizey.
Anybody else? Just want to say thank you very much for coming. But further to that, you know, in the last, I guess, couple of months, we've had some significant incursions of some of the horses through North Prairie Valley or West Prairie Valley. And I guess with your presentation, it's becoming certainly more obvious to me that, you know, communication and understanding from sort of both ends of the spectrum, both from more urban folks like us and the rural as well as the PIB, that to have these communications and progressive steps that you've put out here, looks like we're finally getting somewhere. And I really like the idea of, you know, creating some sort of resurgence of historical aspects of PIB's involvement with horses, and then to create more of something that, as Councillor Barklow said, perhaps we can move forward in a far more positive vein than what I've seen to date. My own attitude is certainly being more, you know, I got more positive, because I have to deal with and our staff has to deal with the immediacy of damage, the immediacy of horses coming into orchards and causing issues, for example, around the sales of fruit. The ability of that fruit to be sold, for example, when horses are being active in the orchard. So, you know, and as you say, it's impossible to fence every square inch. And it comes down to people having to protect their property. But further to that, I think it's the progressive steps you're making. They're extremely complex and very comprehensive. So I applaud you for all your work. We'll continue to work with you, and more so in the future.
Thank you. It's probably the most difficult file, but it will be in the end the most rewarding. It's the first time that there has been concerted effort. Usually it's as the conflicts come up in the media, there's some sort of activity and then it wanes. This is the first time there's been consistency, and I have to give Councillor Dolly Kruger absolutely huge accolades. She has put in hundreds of hours of volunteer time. They are under a different type of governance than we are, so the councillors there are given a very small stipend every month, you know, somewhere close to $400, and 3 different committees to work on. And she's a horse person, and she has been working tirelessly at this. And one of the reasons it's worked very well for us is that I've been a horse person for 35 years. So it's when you get 2 people together that know horses and have their hearts in that spot, then we hope that within the next year you'll see some terrific differences
Well, you know, you've basically said it, when the right people get together, things can happen. So appreciate your effort, and thank you very much for coming here this evening.
Thank you very much.
So we'll move on. Corporate Officer, we're
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
into our public comment opportunity.
Yes.
And, okay, I'd like to ask the public, the public has in this 15-minute section 2 minutes each to make comment on an agenda item that doesn't already call for public participation. And I might make one comment that 7.1 was inadvertently highlighted. Am I correct?
That's right.
That's correct. So it's sort of not a free range on 7.1 at this point, but we'll be going into, I'll be asking for comments from the public when we reach 7.1. So anything else, though, that's highlighted, by all means, you have 2 minutes, and I've asked anybody that wishes to participate to take just the 2 minutes, please. And so we've got opportunity for at least, 7 people to make comment within the time frame. So anybody up for?
Me.
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening.
Name and address, please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Waterman, councillors. My name is Dawn Richards, and I live at 14119 Prairie Valley Road. And I would like to address the agenda notice of motion by Councillor Barkwell regarding the unmetered irrigation rate. I was quite involved in the petition that sort of got the whole metering issue talked about, and a resolution and reverting that back to where we are now, I guess. But I'd like to make a few points because of the number of people that I talked to, the numerous conversations that I had with property owners that this affects. It was clear to me that no one was opposed to paying for their irrigation water. It's just that they wanted to make sure that it was a fair rate. And from reading Mr. Barkwell's notice of motion, it sounds like that's going to be addressed, and that will be looked at as an annual rate for our irrigation lines. And I think most people would be okay with that, as long as we're sort of kept apprised, or we're kept in the loop as to what that is. Just 2 things I think that I have concerns about, and I'm sure this will be dealt with. Will the properties in question be reinstated to the irrigation roll? Because all of these properties were taken off the irrigation roll 4 years ago, and we didn't get notice of that. But if you're not paying for something, you usually don't make much noise about it. Anyway, and will those property owners who requested to have their irrigation lines disconnected based on the information in the July 2014 letter that came out, will they now have a chance to be put back on the irrigation roll? And I think that was probably a Tom Day's issue when Councillor Barkwell brought it up in the December 8th meeting, that it's not like flipping a switch, getting us back on the irrigation rolls or sending out invoices saying that now you're paying for your water. I think a lot of things need to be revisited, because there's lots of variables within these properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Yes. Might point out that council's not prepared to sort of answer questions or ask questions at this point. If we'll be taking in the information for the issues that are discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Waterman, members of council. My name is John Bubb, and I'm at 15317 Prairie Valley Road in Summerland. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Summerland Food Bank and Resource Centre tonight. The thrust, or the item that I'm referring to in the agenda tonight, is the advisory committees that is being reviewed and discussed this evening. And the thrust of my comments is to make sure that those residents of Summerland that are most in need aren't missed in the council advisory process as we go forward. I'm reading you 2 paragraphs from my annual report to the membership of the Summerland Food Bank Resource Centre. They refer to fiscal year ending January 31st, 2015, and they'll be presented, or have been distributed, but will be presented at our annual meeting on April the 7th. Need for the services of the food bank increased significantly over the fiscal year. During this year, we averaged 87 household appointments per month, up from 80 in the prior year. In terms of people, 560 clients, 385 adults, and 175 children received food from the food bank. Our 2014 Christmas hamper program served 139 households, up from 120 households in the prior year. I have concern that if we do not soon see a significant increase in the minimum wage, welfare, and disability payments, then the demand for food will exceed our capacity to provide it. The last increase in welfare and disability benefit payments was in 2007, 8 years ago this April. We are grateful for the regular financial support of our major funding agencies, the District of Summerland, Summerland United Church, and the United Way. We also appreciate very much the many Summerland churches, businesses, service clubs, and individuals that donate more than half of our revenues each year. The District of Summerland has tentatively renewed its grant in aid for the next fiscal year, that's this current fiscal year, and the Summerland United Church continues its monthly commitment. On the negative side, our application for a community gaming grant has been rejected, but we are currently appealing the decision. A funding application specifically to provide a step-in cooler for non-frozen perishable items has been submitted to the Community Fund of the South Okanagan. A full copy of this report is with Maureen if you would like to obtain a copy of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bubb. Is there anybody else who would like to speak this evening? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to my report for this evening. The last 2 weeks have been active, to say the least. One of the main focuses for Council has been the development of our strategic plan. This consumes a large part of tonight's agenda, as our CAO will be discussing it. This is Council's focus for this year and beyond. We have added a fourth pillar to our strategic plan in cultural vibrancy. Council feels strongly that our drive to the future needs to reflect the depth and breadth of the cultural identity of Summerland. To that end, a cultural task force will be struck to formulate a cultural master plan for the community. And that'll be in conjunction with a recreation master plan that will be a separate plan, but be done more or less at the same time. Another major effort of the last 2 weeks has been the review of amendments and proposed amendments to the OCP, our official community plan, over the last 6 years. Council struck a select committee which has met a number of times for a considerable number of hours. This effort reflects the desire of the community to preserve our rural-urban mix. The electorate provided the direction in this last election. Council will be bringing the results of these deliberations to the public in the near future. Both of these efforts are meant to spur economic activity and to provide certainty and focus to the development community in Summerland. All our efforts in these areas, with extensive budget deliberations over the last 3 months, plus an ongoing examination of the advisory committees, have been led very successfully by exceptional leadership of our interim CAO, Tim Wood. Tim's depth of experience has provided a seamless transition for a brand new council as we start our term. For me personally, and don't get overindulged by this, Mr. Wood, but for me personally, his kind, personable, and thoughtful advice during his 3-month term has been absolutely invaluable. I couldn't have asked for a better transition from our retiring CAO to our new CAO, and I just can't say enough about Mr. Wood and his ability to make sure that we can handle the early part of any fiscal year well, and to lead council in efforts like our strategic plan and team building and so on. So, Tim, I'd like to thank you very much, and this is, we're entering the last few days of Tim's contract with the municipality, and we'll be starting with our new CAO, Ms. Linda Tynan, at the end of the month. So, Tim, thank you very much. I appreciate all your effort and wish you well in your next time frame of work. Thank you. So, Corporate Officer,
Yeah.
next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next item is Development Variance Permit Application for 6003 Dale Avenue, and I will refer this to Alex Condor, and he's going to give us a brief overview of the application.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Planner.
Marie. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think we should think about playing some soft jazz music to kind of lighten things up
Is
here a
your
bit.
mic on, Alex, please?
I think
Okay.
it is.
Speak right into it, please.
I hope everybody can hear me. So indeed, this is a application for a development variance permit. The location is 6003 Dale Avenue. The subject site, as I assume most people are aware of, is in Trout Creek. It's at the end of Johnson Street, and it's adjacent to Powell Beach Park. In 2014, the previous council passed a fairly substantial rezoning amendment based on this conceptual neighborhood plan. And as you can see, the existing road that matches up with Dale Avenue on the south side there, let me just get my little pointer out, right here, was intended at that time to match up with the existing Dale Avenue. And the existing road right-of-way here on Woods Avenue was meant to match up, the new road dedication that was going to be taken was meant to match up with the existing Woods Avenue road right-of-way. And here we are in 2015, and we've got a detailed subdivision sketch that is very similar to what was kind of always presented to the public and to council. But the devil is in the details a little bit here. And the conceptual plan didn't meet the exact dimensions that we require by bylaw in our subdivision development servicing bylaw. Any new road constructed within the district, a local road, needs at least 16 meters of road right-of-way. And when I say road right-of-way, I mean the kind of imaginary property lines that contain the sidewalks, the street lights, the fire hydrants, everything else. I'm not talking about the actual width of a road. Typically, a traveled portion of a road is only about maybe 9 meters. At its narrowest, maybe 6 meters for a laneway. So the developer has to request a variance from council to reduce one section of their subdivision. I want to note that the rest of the subdivision does meet our subdivision bylaw and our zoning bylaw as well. But there's a section of what's going to be the future extension of Dale Avenue that's proposed to be only 13.72 meters. So the actual variance request is to reduce the road right-of-way from what would be 16 meters down to 13.72, and it's only for about a stretch of about 38 meters. And district planning staff are supporting this, provided that there aren't any major concerns from residents and the public.
Thank you, Mr. Planner. Thank you, Alex. Corporate Officer, yeah, you have some correspondence on this, I understand.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we've received one email from an adjacent neighbor, and I will read this out. It is from Danae Knowles. She lives at 907 May Street. She has several concerns with the proposed variance to reduce the minimum right-of-way width for Dale Avenue from 16 meters to 13 meters. Firstly, a narrow roadway makes for unsafe walking conditions and for children. Sidewalks are not confirmed by the developer or required by the building code. This particular builder has a history of making change requests and variances to originally accepted plans. The promises and proposals made by the developer at the outset of this project are being watered down on an ad hoc basis. For example, the Johnson Street widening and reneging on the promise to install sidewalks on both sides of that street. Narrowing Dale Avenue does not make sense from a traffic flow or safety perspective. Many local families may use that particular street in order to gain entry to the public beach access. Why is the narrowing of Dale Avenue being requested by the fronting owners, who happen to also be the developers of the subdivision? In this particular area, carriage or coach houses are permitted, and this will result in increased on-street parking congestion due to small lot sizes and multiple vehicles per home. The proposed narrowing of Dale Avenue is inappropriate on this basis alone.
Thank you. So this time, actually, it's appropriate to ask for comments from the public. So people who would like to get up and speak, please do so. Anybody have anything to say? I'm surprised.
You want me to add to it?
Well, no, not necessarily, but anybody else? Mr. Cowan?
I don't have to get up to the mic. I just-
Yes,
but
yes,
it
you do,
seems-
please. Yeah, thank you.
Not knowing exactly, my name is Barry Cowan. I live at 10604 Lister Avenue. This is not why I came in here this evening, but it's very interesting that the developers could have put in high-density housing with laneways and everything else in there, and it looks to me that that is going to be one of the major accesses to the cul-de-sac. Why would you throttle it, allow it to be throttled at the expense of, what is the reasoning of narrowing that road by 3 meters? It does not make sense in feeding a high-density area like that and throttling down the access, as that lady said in her letter here, for traffic and pedestrian traffic and everything else. I thought this council, I understand, likes to see people walk. The traffic down there is getting heavier and heavier as the years go on, as these little developments keep coming in and whatnot. I think now would be the time to make sure that we have adequate road widths. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Looks like
I'd
we're
like
going to
to
get
add.
some additional comment. Good. That's what we're here for.
Thank you, Mayor Waterman and Council. I am actually the person who wrote that email, and I actually represent 2 properties on that street. I represent 901 May Street and 907 May Street. And I was reading some additional literature in there, and they talked about how there's not a lot of traffic on Woods Avenue between Johnson and May Street. And I, having lived in that neighborhood for many, many years, disagree and would be curious on how the founding of that information or the facts of that information is provided. It's actually a heavy walking area that a lot of people travel to the beach. The property on 901 May Street actually has a hedge cut with indents so that cars can see coming around the corner, because a lot of people get misled going to the beach and actually use that as a turnaround area. So there is actually a lot of vehicle congestion in the summertime, on the weekends, and there are a lot of families that are out walking in that area. I can see the Dale Avenue entrance actually going to be quite a popular place for people who are going to skirt kind of a dangerous little corner to get into the beach area. A lot of families will be going through an alternate entrance. So I do have real concerns about parking and safety for pedestrians in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Council, do you have any questions of staff at this time? Councillor Holmes.
So my understanding is correct, if our choice is, we have an option between 2 different variances. Either way, we have to go with a variance, one way or the other. Alex, would you go show us what the variance to the width of lot 29 would look like if we chose that option?
Yeah, sure. So, this is what the proposed road right-of-way looks like, and what Councillor Holmes is talking about is that there's a lot right here that right now is the minimum width that's allowed by bylaw. It's 18 meters wide. So to achieve your 16-meter wide road right-of-way, you would need to probably take, I think, almost about 2 meters, approximately 2 meters off of that property and narrow that lot down to something closer to being 16 meters wide, which in the RSD2 zone, which is what this is, the minimum is 18 meters. RSD1 is only 12 meters, which is in other areas, but that was a contentious part of the rezoning as well. So it's hard to demonstrate really, but you can picture this property line here getting about 2 meters narrower, if that helps.
And what about the other side of the street?
Well, this wouldn't be a problem on this side. There's no variance needed here. This property is zoned RSD3, which the minimum lot size is 1,000 square meters, and and this lot is quite oversized. So if they were to take the other 2 meters on this side, there would be no variance needed.
So that's an option.
If you're asking, that's correct, with one variance from council on one property line.
Councillor Carlson.
There are no sidewalks planned for Dale Avenue, correct?
I believe there is one sidewalk that's meant to link the entire subdivision. So
There would be a sidewalk going all the way up, all the way along on the right-hand side potentially of the road?
That's correct, and the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the case. There should be one sidewalk that will go throughout this entire road here, and that's what's required by our.
And that's
our
part of the
servicing bylaw.
13.7 meters.
That's correct.
Right? Okay.
That's correct.
Thanks.
The applicants believe they can fit that within the reduced right of way.
If I can mention, Ian McIntosh said it wasn't required or confirmed in the building when I checked him the other day.
Okay. Well,
That was my information that I just want to.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Councillor Peak.
Thank you. Alex, could you show me where the pathway is going to go down to the water out of that subdivision?
Sure. So I don't know if it's totally clear, but this is meant to be the one pedestrian connection to Powell Beach.
Okay.
It's going to be built out at 6 meters wide and meant to be a pedestrian connection into Powell Beach.
Okay. If I may, another question would be, the street that comes in, is it going to be called Johnson, the main street that will come in off of Johnson? Is that,
I think that's yet to be determined.
okay? Because there is, once you open up an opening, people are more likely to use it. So people may come in one way and go out the other, which could definitely increase the traffic for them. I'd also like to clarify, because in Dina's letter, she makes an allusion to that the sidewalks on Johnson are no longer going to be required.
Mhm.
And perhaps you could speak to that.
Sure. Must be a very small town.
Small neighborhood.
I believe, the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, but there was, they were contemplating bringing a request to council to change the original requirement. So when the rezoning was brought forward to council last year, the developer had agreed to put a sidewalk on both sides of Johnson Street between Woods Avenue and where the school is for that block. And it's my understanding that they are still doing that there was some contemplation about coming back to council and asking to reduce that requirement, but that did not go anywhere, that they're still required to do the 2 sidewalks that they promised originally.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate the clarification, because that was my understanding as a counselor, and we'd all met with the developer and said you have to go and talk to the people on the street as well. So we had our own concerns around that. So I just wanted that clarified as well. If if there was a 2 meter taken off of the lot 29, and that variance would then apply on lot 29, would that then pass this evening if that was done by the council?
Unfortunately, bureaucracy would dictate that we would have to re-notify the public and give them at least 10 days' notice that we're contemplating varying a lot width. And we'd be back here probably as soon as, the city clerk can correct me, but I think it'd be 2 council meetings. I don't think we can meet our 10-day deadline if we started today. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Barkle.
Yes, the 2 meters, why can't it be taken off from the lot on the east?
Well, I suppose it could, but it's not very logical. Best practice would be, you can picture an imaginary kind of center line running down Dale Avenue here, and the idea would be on a 16-meter road right-of-way, you would take 8 meters on either side of that center line.
Mm-hmm.
So if the day came, the city wanted to put 2 lanes of traffic, well, not on a local road, but if the city needed to do some work or whatever, they would have adequate room to work in that road right-of-way. If we took, say, the full 4 meters on the east property, what would end up happening is you have a fairly large kind of jog in this area right here. And if the day came where adjacent neighbors went to redevelop, you're basically getting to a point where you'd have to end up realigning the entire road to work with those center lines.
Could you move the map a little bit so we can see what we're dealing with from the?
Unfortunately, I can't. This is a PowerPoint, and this is a firm slide. I could get onto our GIS here if needed. It's a block of about 5 houses before it turns up toward Wood Street there.
So you're thinking that somewhere down the road, that if Woods Avenue is widened, you'd want to widen it evenly and not to have that jog in there?
Yeah, exactly, Councillor.
That would take an awful lot from one house or two, it looks like.
You're referring to Dale Avenue?
Dale Avenue, oh, is that what?
Yeah.
Dale Avenue.
Sorry, guys.
Being rewidened anyway.
That's correct. I just want to point out, to clarify for
Oh,
everybody
sorry,
here.
did I
so
say
this is the
Woods? I meant
block.
Dale, yeah.
So you know, ideally you would run a imaginary center line down this road, and as property is redeveloped, you get equal portions on each side of that center line, equaling 8 meters from each on each person's property.
Councillor Holmes?
What about, has there been any discussion with the developer about splitting the difference so that the west side of Dale Ave lines up with Dale Ave, and then there's a jag on the east side so that to allow some parking on that side?
Yeah. Not to my knowledge.
Might be worth having that discussion, no?
I've got to interject here. Corporate officer, the developer is in the room. He may be able to shed some light on this. Is that appropriate this time? Would you like to come to the mic, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Brad Alenko. I'm the agent for the developers. I just want to clarify a couple of points that were made. There is a sidewalk planned on the east side of the road of Dale Avenue. The asphalt width, I believe, as Alex has mentioned, is 9 meters. The balance of the area on the east side of the road is going to be used as part of the storm drainage system, natural drainage. It will be a lawned area of some sort, probably not manicured, but some type of a surface, certainly able to be walked on and used for pedestrian traffic. So there will be both a sidewalk on the east side of Dale Avenue that's connecting to, I don't believe there is a sidewalk on existing Dale Avenue right now, and there will be at least 2, maybe 3 meters of boulevard on the west side of the proposed Dale Avenue that will provide very adequate room for additional pedestrian movement if that is to occur. The other thing I'd like to point out is in this particular area, there's only really one lot that is going to have access and use that portion of Dale Avenue. That's the lakefront lot right in front of it. Everything else on Dale Avenue at the north end will be heading back out on Johnson Street and heading out that way. So the amount of traffic on Dale Avenue as a result of this development will be very negligible, and I would be surprised if any of the owners in the subdivision would actually go back through Dale Avenue and out that way. It's just a much more circuitous route, and it's just not likely to happen. So the use on Dale Avenue, again, is going to be very minimal. The other point I'd like to make is when this development is completed, there'll be lakefront lots and a developed area in this subdivision, and the existing Dale Avenue area is already developed. The need to expand the existing Dale Avenue right-of-way from its current 13.73 meters to 16 meters, there would really be no need in the future to do that. There's no real potential in the area for any future development. So the need for expansion wouldn't be required, and therefore the right-of-way is going to end up being more boulevard that simply needs to be maintained by somebody. The developer is simply trying to plug into an existing road network that works and improving that road network by providing a sidewalk and providing, certainly on the west side, a boulevard area that is certainly able to be used for pedestrian use. Parking is not anticipated on the east side, again, because of the drainage engineered drainage system that's going to be going into that west side boulevard. So we can't be, parking vehicles on there, and so there's no real need to be expanding the right-of-way for that. If council has any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Councillor Holmes.
Sorry, could you explain this drainage system to me again?
Yeah, Dale Avenue and Trout Creek is very low-lying. I'm not an engineer by trade, I'm a planner by trade, but I work in an engineering office, and it's been a challenge to drain that area properly. Conventional methods of dry wells and those sorts of more conventional methods simply don't work when you have a high water table. So they're using innovative and creative ways of getting that overland flow to percolate in larger areas, because there simply isn't an engineering solution to that. So we found some creative ways to do that and to drain away the surplus storm drainage.
Yeah.
And an extra 3 meters or whatever would make a difference to that?
No, it's not going to make a difference, but there's going to be no real benefit, because there's an adequate amount of pedestrian movement, more than there is right now on Dale Avenue. A sidewalk is being provided, a standard road width is being provided, and there's going to be an additional 2 to 3 meters of boulevard on the west side that will provide even more additional area for pedestrian movement. So the need for additional right-of-way that simply stops at the existing Dale Avenue, in consultation with the planning staff, and engineering and fire department, just didn't seem to be that logical.
Councillor Peak.
I have a question in terms, is there going to be a sidewalk on the internal road for the whole of the
Yes.
subdivision?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Councillor Carlson.
In the document I was reading, it says that the road is a shared bike and road lane. What's the opportunity to turn the sidewalk into a shared pedestrian bike lane instead of keeping people on the road?
I guess that might be a decision of council, whether you want pedestrians and cyclists on sidewalks. Usually cyclists are considered a form of vehicle and are usually on the road.
Well, I guess bike lanes could be built as part of sidewalks, I guess is my point. If you look at the way that that bike lanes are built in many parts of the world, they're built on that 3-meter boulevard down the middle of it. You have your bike lane instead of making people continue to ride on the road where you potentially have a lot more traffic than you used to. So it's just something that we need to consider, especially down in Trout Creek where people do ride to the beach a lot.
I guess it's a possibility. We operate under the subdivision development standards bylaw that the city, the district Summerland has, and that's not contemplated in the bylaw right now. They have sidewalks that are designed for pedestrian usage, and you're very correct, Councillor. Some municipalities do have hike and bike type of corridors that are 5 meters wide, and they're designed for that, and some of them will even have a line of some sort that separates the pedestrians from the cyclists. But in the District Summerland right now, that's just not part of the bylaw requirements.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Trainer.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about what the boulevard's going to look like, the green section on our maps here, and how wide that will be?
I don't know that I have a cross.
The boulevard's on the west side.
The boulevard is on the west side, that's correct.
Like on our map, it looks like it's quite wide.
Yes. Again, I don't, I can't read the dimensions on here, but I think it's 3 to 4 meters wide.
Okay.
That boulevard is on the west side.
Okay.
And it's green because it's going to be part of a grass boulevard area.
Could the road not extend a bit into that? If there's not going to be a sidewalk on the boulevard, like people will probably be using the sidewalk on the east side,
Yes.
could the road be widened to fit 16 meters with a reduction in that boulevard?
Well, the actual road surface meets the bylaw requirements. Our actual asphalt surface meets the bylaw requirements. So there would be there would be no need for us to extend the road surface beyond what we've got it designed right now. It meets the District of Summerland standards.
Okay. Guess I was unclear on that part. Okay, and what about parking along there? If a vehicle was parked, would another vehicle be able to get through there?
Yep, absolutely. You know, the grassed area, they could, you know, park off. I believe it's rolled curb in this area. I don't believe it's vertical curb. No, I don't think it would be, because our storm drainage is designed to not have a non-mountable curb. So if somebody did want to park in that area, they could certainly pull off the curb and park on that area. And that, in fact, was a concern of the fire chief and the fire department when we had early discussions about that. And we indicated the concern was that if there wasn't room for parking, would there be possible conflicts between fire trucks and parked cars if the right-of-way was too narrow? This area is certainly wide enough. If somebody wanted to park on there, they could. It's not going to be an asphalt parking, but it'll be just a boulevard parking, and you could just drive your car on that boulevard if you wanted to, or if you needed to.
You saying park on the grass?
Park on the grass, I guess, yeah.
So would there be signs saying that you can park there?
There won't be signs saying you can park there.
Well, in our handout here, it says there will. It's anticipated there will be no parking signs placed on the small new portion of Dale Avenue to prevent parking on that portion of the street. If parking is anticipated, a slightly wider road surface could be constructed by the developer, which would fit very well with the existing proposed 13.72 meter right-of-way. So I think it's important we know whether there's parking or not.
The signs are going to be no parking simply because we've got a storm drainage system in there. But there will be space that if there was the requirement for somebody that needed to park there for some emergency reason, a fire truck or whatever, there's not going to be bollards that are going to preclude somebody. But because of the storm drainage system that's going to be used in that area, it's not designed to be designated as a full-time parking area. And, you know, let's keep in mind that it's 38 meters, so it's, you know, 2 or 3 cars. We're not talking about a parking lot, and it's in one small section there. I'm not really sure who would be parking there.
Councillor Peak?
I understand about the asphalt area for the traveled road, and certainly it is not atypical to have a rolled curb that people could park. If there was someone that might park on the boulevard and decide to walk through the subdivision and on down the pathway, although it's much more likely that they'll go to Powell Beach, considering all the parking at the other end.
So I'm going to interject here just briefly. So essentially, if this was, if we don't grant this, then there would have to be a variance to lot 29, correct?
That's one option.
Yeah, well,
The-
that's
the other option.
alternatives to your recommendation.
That's probably the most desirable option for the developer.
So I guess the overriding complication there is for the lot size. What happens to its designation? What is it right now, RSD2 or 1?
It's RSD2.
RSD2. So does this end up scaling it down to an RSD1 size lot? Or too low to be an RSD2?
Mr. Mayor, it would likely end up being larger than an RSD1, but slightly smaller in width than RSD2. And we could try to work with the developer to make sure that the lot area is still within the RSD2 zone. So even though the dimension would be narrower, the actual lot area would still be the same as RSD2, which is 650 square meters. as
So the
opposed to
actual
460.
building envelope area would be likely not affected, but the actual area of the total lot would be smaller.
And that's correct, Mr. Mayor. The building envelope would be slightly smaller, but.
The building envelope or the lot size itself?
Both.
Shrink one, you shrink the other.
Okay, just depends on how much setback allowance there actually is, is what it comes down to. Okay, everybody had enough questions? Councillor Carlson, I think you had a question. No. Councillor Booth, sorry.
Just two quick questions. One of them has to do with the parking on the boardwalk, which I understand from your comments is a storm, is to address the water issue or potential issue there. Would the, if people were to park on that, just kind of disobeying the no parking signs, if people were to park on there, would the compaction, would that affect the integrity of the drainage area?
I'm not an engineer, but I don't think it would compromise the quality of the infiltration bed. What could be of concern, though, is if you had a long period of rain and that land became fairly saturated, it could be soft, and then you could have some problems with people getting stuck or whatever. So it's not designed to be a parking area. But like I said, at 3+ meters, if somebody needed to park there or if there was an emergency fire or whatever, that area could be used for people to park or whatever. But it's not designed for that.
Okay, thank you. And I have one other question. So if this was denied by council and the extra area was taken off of lot 29, it would be a matter for you to apply for a different type of variance? I guess it's still a development variance, but specifically for lot 29, is that correct?
That's correct.
Councillor Carlson.
Alex, when you're gonna put, we're talking theoretical, if we're putting bike lanes in Summerland, what is the required width if you're actually going to call it a bike lane on a 9-meter piece of asphalt? Would you be able to put a bike lane in on one side?
We kind of talk, sorry, Mr. Mayor, when we're talking about bike lanes, typically we're talking about a dedicated path for a bike outside of what would be the typical travel asphalt portion for a vehicle. So usually what that ends up looking like is wider asphalt areas, wider shoulders. We all have seen them, right? And my understanding is that there's no universal standard for a bike lane, but usually around 1.2 meters, 4 feet is adequate space. And the quality and design of bike lanes really does vary. And right now we don't have much detail in our servicing bylaw, but they range the whole gamut from what you see in larger cities like Vancouver, for instance, where you've got the bollards and the barrier curbs to prevent a vehicle from trying to from being able to kind of encroach into that area. And you see sometimes just a painted white line. And right now, we just don't have that kind of detail in our service.
Would a painted white line would it work on this road where it's only 9 meters wide?
I would like to, if you're asking me, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to probably talk with our works department to see if that would be something they think would be safe. At the end of the day, we're talking about a safe amount of travel space for a vehicle and safe amount for a bicyclist. It's a hard one to say. I can't answer that.
Well, I think, to look at the two opinions here, it appears as though there has to be a dedicated bike surface in addition to the travel surface.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what Councillor Carlson is asking is, would it be okay to put a bike lane on part of the travel surface for the road, correct? Which I think probably the Public Works would not be too keen with, although we certainly have enough roads in Summerland where there's not adequate travel surface for either. But, that's to be dealt with as we get into bike lanes and pathways and so on in a more concerted way. So is council ready to look at the staff recommendation or some alternative? So, Corporate Officer, would you like to read the recommendation, please?
Yes, I will, Mr. Mayor. That a development variance permit to reduce the required minimum right-of-way width for a local road in subdivision and development bylaw 99004 from 16 meters to 13.72 meters for the extension of Dale Avenue as shown on Schedule B be granted to Lot 1 DL 488 ODYD Plan 3533 located at 6003 Dale Avenue.
Thank you. Do I have a mover, please? Thank you. Councillor Peak, a seconder. Councillor Barkwell. Now we can discuss this further after we've had the seconder. Any other comment? As we move towards finalization. Councillor Holmes.
I'm not convinced that we've been given all the alternatives. You know, we have the staff recommendation and we have alternative staff recommendations. I think there's other options that haven't been considered. And, you know, to be, don't mean to sound crude, but it sounds to me that it sounds like somebody just doesn't want somebody parking in front of their house. That's how it sounds to me. And everybody has parking in front of their house.
Councillor Peak.
When I look at the fact that the Dale Avenue, when it comes out, is at a cul-de-sac, it's not as likely that you're going to get as much traffic in that particular direction. It is more likely that the major part of the subdivision will make its exit and go out Johnson Road, particularly because it brings out to the light at the highway. But we were having discussions with the public who live there, and they say that there's quite a bit of traffic that would be likely to use this kind of route. So I think that we need to have that further discussion with the developer.
Councillor Barkle.
If council turns this down, I wouldn't want to preclude the option of taking the land from the east side. I think that, as the representative said, redevelopment down there that would affect that seems unlikely. If anything, redevelopment, I think, would take land on Dale Avenue from the houses that are on the right, where there's far more room. Right now, there's no room on the left. So that's just one thing that I'm not sure how. It's up to the developer what alternatives they come back to if it's not accepted, but it's my thought.
Any other comments? Councillor Carlson.
I do think that having a sidewalk going along the whole subdivision is definitely a perk, and I think it's necessary, and it will make it a lot safer. As you may know, when it comes to driving, I don't think that we all need to drive as much, especially in a neighborhood like this one, but I don't know how much it will be used. No one really knows yet how much it will be used, and I'm also not convinced that just because there's two houses on the waterfront, they're the only ones that are going to be driving on that piece of road, because you've got 30 other lots and pretty good chance they're also going to head out that way to get to the highway every once in a while. So I think that we need to be consistent and make sure that everybody understands why we have these rules, and we don't want to treat just two people differently than we treat the other 27.
Any other comments? Councillor Booth. And when we're drawing this to a conclusion, please.
One of the alternatives to the staff recommendation, which was the motion that's before us, is that if we were to deny that, it would require a variance to the width of proposed lot 29, which could be authorized by the approving officer. So seeing that written before me and taking into account some of the comments made by Councillor Holmes, I think that there is another alternative to what's being proposed here tonight, and taking it off of lot 29 seems to me like that would be something that we could look at and still keep it within that development zoning. So thank you. I think I will be voting against this resolution tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Booth. I'm inclined to move in the same direction. I think it's like a bit of a reduction in lot 29 is likely to be more amenable to the neighborhood, and so I'll be voting in denial of the recommendation. So are we prepared for a vote? All in favor, please? Against? Thank you. Motion is denied. So, Corporate Officer, we're moving on to...
Yep. Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 3 reports that are coming from in-camera sessions. The first is our land disposal policy, and I will refer that to our CAO.
Thank you. Mr. Cielo, would you lead us in this, please?
Thank you for your kind words earlier, Mr. Mayor. It has been a wonderful opportunity to work in Summerland with a very forward-thinking council. Very, I don't want to say unusual for a group of newcomers, but a nice blend of common sense and enthusiasm and creativity. Your support has been, and graciousness has been gratefully appreciated, and the professionalism of the staff from top to bottom. I think Linda Tynan, I spoke with Linda today, by the way, is coming into a wonderful situation in a community that, should I ever move back to the Okanagan, you can hold me to this, I will live in Summerland. And I hate to say that about Penticton, but Summerland is a very, very special community.
Well,
So just want to let you know that.
Visas for access to Summerland are hard to come by. So we do have
Touche.
stringent application procedures.
Yeah, the mayor always gets the last word.
You bet.
Yeah, I've got
Okay,
three
proceed.
reports tonight. The first one is a land disposal policy for council. We have assessed value properties in the order of about $114 million for this municipality. So that's a pretty big, pretty large land inventory for a community of this size. I think council feels it's prudent to have a very reasoned, transparent approach to managing these lands, including when to dispose of them or when not to dispose of the lands. Summerland has traditionally followed the Local Government Act, and then following that, the Community Charter requirements when dealing with land disposal, so there have been really no issues around that. What this policy and approach simply does is codify it, so that we're essentially doing what we've done before, but we've now written it out so that as staff move through the system, as councillors come and go, there's a body of thought, a policy that says this is how you manage that very valuable land asset. That's essentially what is before council tonight.
Thank you. So if I'm reading some of the information correctly, this disposal policy will allow council to actually consider a number of different options in terms of how we handle land, including selling, leasing, and other options.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. Yep.
So it's pretty much up to us and to look at our options for any particular piece of property and how it may benefit the community as a whole.
You have complete flexibility in how you deal with the property. It does have some additional features. One is an annual review on council's part to look at the land inventory. Of course, you'll be looking at it throughout the year, but there will be that one snapshot in time. It also provides that during the annual report, you'll report out on how you've handled your land asset. It provides for a maximum return on your investment so that you're selling parcels according to market value, or if there are other social factors, it's all calculated, it's all part of the value of a property, so you're getting best value for dollar. And it's completely transparent.
You know, I see this policy as going hand in hand with our solidification and review of the OCP, so that as we go forward and consider the implications of the OCP, that land disposal, in whatever form that may take, will be in conjunction with considerations of the OCP itself. So looking at development, looking at, I'm thinking in terms of downtown development, other areas that are ready to be triggered into moving forward, that if we review this properly each year, we'll look at what happened the past year and look forward to what we may anticipate in the future with respect to land disposal. I think the key thing that is with us tonight here, other than I can't see us not approving this, is that you know, we are looking at this as a key way of providing income stream for the municipality over and above property tax. And so there are going to be multiples of ways of doing that, and you know, selling parcels where it's advantageous, and perhaps leasing other parcels where that is advantageous will be, I think, probably a good part of those funds are quite free to move into infrastructure reserves. Am I not correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So this, you know, there's certainly options here, and one of the strong reasons why council has been reviewing the OCP is to give confidence to the community in terms of where Summerland is going, so that we can with confidence move on properties and see where that advantage can be gained for the community. So have we got any comments by council at this point? Councillor Barkwell.
Just for the sake of the citizens out there, council was discussing land disposal issue in camera, as all land disposal issues are dealt with, and it was realized as a whole that we didn't have a policy. We thought, well, we should have a policy. Tim researched it. He gave us material to work with. We hashed through it. We came up with something we all agreed to, and here we are in less than 3 months with Tim's assistance, a policy for the community that I think is a good policy, and Tim was the right man for the job at the right time. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. I think further to what I said before is that this policy goes in hand with our considerations and final points that will be coming up with our OCP. And I think all those things jibe with our strategic plan. So we're hoping to mesh our desires with our strategic plan and move the community forward. Any other comments by councillors, please? No? Can I, Corporate Officer, move ahead, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that council approve and adopt District of Summerland disposal of municipal property policy.
Thank you. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Holmes, seconder. Councillor Carlson. All in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next report is our 2015, or your Mayor and Council 2015-2019 strategic plan, and I'll refer that to our CAO.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. I think actually I've just had a request for a 30-second to 1 minute plus stretch period, and we'll do that now for both us and the public. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you.
It's good for you.
You should cut your... Okay. Can't make that any bigger for the public? Way to go.
I'll read it.
It is at the back then, too. There's copies
Oh, okay.
of the plan at the back.
Thank you. So we're back in session, and we're with the CAO, taking a look at our strategic plan and the highlights, I guess.
Yes.
Thank
you, Mr. Mayor. Under the community charter, council is required to have a strategic plan and report out annually on their progress in achieving the objectives of the plan. A plan is a means of setting a course for the municipality. It's a means of aligning all of the municipal resources behind the plan. It's a means of being accountable to the public, and it's a means of communicating to the public where council wishes to go. What the diagram up there that we all can't see says, and I'll just take it from the top part. It says right at the top that the District of Summerland vision points which way to go, but not how to get there. So if you look in the official community plan, there's a very nice vision for Summerland of what council and the community would like to see the community look like in 20, 25 years. The official community plan provides direction on how to get to that vision, provides all kinds of areas in terms of land use, in terms of where transportation networks are, utility networks, parks, et cetera. Of course, all the different residential components. The strategic plan that we're looking at tonight gives the priority in terms of the community plan. You can't do the entire community plan in 1 year, so you pick out those strategic pieces, and each year you do something to advance yourselves along the line towards the vision. The municipal budget, which we've already completed, the financial plan, at least I shouldn't say completed. We've given, council have given the first cut at it, but it will come back in April and the beginning of May for adoption. The budget provides the money to drive the strategic plan. And then finally, there's an annual progress report that the council must report out at the latest in June to let the public know this is how we did in the previous year. So that's what that series of arrows points to. And the next slide, you're not going to be able to see at all. I'll just maybe provide a little bit of preamble and then try to work your way through that. So normally a strategic plan, you'll have a fair bit of public engagement. But in this particular case, you have a new council. They're in office, and they've been in office 4 months, and you need some type of strategic plan to carry you through 2015. And of course, this council's in office for another 3 years following that. And so the idea is that at the end of this year, there will be some full public engagement to really involve the community in the strategic planning process. So this is a very corporate type of approach. It's prepared by council and staff, and with an opportunity for the public to speak tonight to it if they wish. If council feels comfortable, they can adopt it tonight. Or if council feels they'd like to see some more community input, they can direct us to get that input, or they could bring it back to a future council meeting and give the public more opportunity to comment on it. And I should point out, this plan really is, and as all plans are, a work in progress. It can be changed at any time. And again, with more community involvement in the fall, you will see, I'm sure you'll see a different plan. It may kind of look the same, but it will be maybe a little more heft. The plan that's presented tonight is really built on 2 strategic planning models, which is kind of unique. Credit to council. It's built on what's called the balanced scorecard approach and the 4-pillar approach. The 4-pillar approach really focuses on the 4 community themes that you see at the very top: environmental integrity, social well-being, economic vibrancy, and equal to that, and what you don't see in a lot of plans, is cultural vitality, with cultural vitality being a very key component of where this community sees itself going in the future. And again, you don't see that in a lot of plans. In the balanced scorecard approach, if you look down the left side in the left column, there are 4 perspectives. It's like running a business. It's how it was originally developed. If you're running a business, you want to make sure that you're focusing on your customers or your citizens. So you have what are called citizen objectives. That's who you're here to serve. You then want to make sure as a business that you're financially viable and liquid. So you'll have some financial objectives, which we do. You then will take a look at your internal processes and make sure that they serve your customers and not your bureaucracy. And we have some internal process objectives. And finally, you have what's called learning and growth objectives. If you were a business, you need to be looking, as Covey calls it, sharpening the saw. You want to look down the road and make sure that you're innovative, that you're using technology, and that you have a skilled labor force available to get you where you need to go. So those are the four perspectives. So if you take the 4 pillars and the 4 perspectives, that allows you to create a set of objectives, which you cannot see up on the screen there, and I won't bother reading all of them, but they're at a very high level. Well, once you have your set of objectives, then council and staff went through and created a number of what we call initiatives. Here we go. A group of initiatives. I'll just get you the number of initiatives. I think it's about 30. So we have 18 objectives aligned with the themes. We have 33 initiatives and targets to help meet the objectives, and 33 key performance indicators so that we can be accountable. That's essentially the guts of the plan. I do not propose to go through all the initiatives. I think there are copies available on the website. We'd certainly love to take any phone calls you have if you would like to talk to us about the plan. But the idea is that these 33 initiatives this year, all rather quite interesting in my line of work and my thinking, will help bring us towards the objectives that are up on the board. Things like preserving the water supply, preserving agricultural land, fostering corporate excellence, building cultural vitality within the community. And that, Mr. Mayor, is the quick summary.
Thank you very much. I think I'd like to add that the process we went through was a facilitated process where we brought in a facilitator for our sessions to go through this, and it's a very interesting engagement process for council, especially for our new councillors, and it was a very positive thing for me. I've been through the process a number of times, but this was a fresh approach and a different method of doing things. I think we've got some people on council in particular that are very familiar with that additional pillar of cultural vitality, or engaging the cultural aspects of the community. And this is something that I feel that, you know, if you don't have that fourth pillar, then the other three are not supported adequately. And especially in the economic vibrancy, but also, I mean, each one of them, you look at social well-being, and you think in terms of the cultural activities in the community, how does that enhance that aspect and drive the overall why you want to live here aspect of Summerland. And so, and I personally feel that there's a real leg of this is the base that gives us for economic vibrancy. It's an additional support to create more economic activity in the community. Do councillors have anything to add that they would like to throw our way here? Councillor Peak.
I'd have to say that I thought it was a really good process. Certainly, as a council, we want to do a strategic plan in the coming year that will include all of the community in the discussion. But this gave us an opportunity to work together as a team, and I think that was valuable as well. And for a beginning strategic plan for a new council, I think it gives us some direction, and I think that's very useful.
Councillor Barkwell.
As I read through the finished product, all I could say to myself was, yes, 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 this is what we want to do. So I don't get excited about these sort of things very often, but I really liked it.
That's a high level of excitement for Councillor Barkwell, let me tell you. I think what it stresses for me, you know, is as our CAO pointed out, the base for this would be public engagement to help drive the plan, the strategy that we feel might be important for the community. And so, you know, the strategic plan gathers its base from a broad level of input. We hope to be able to do a proper job of that for next year. But then you can see how that strategic plan that's developed starts to drive the budget. And the budget will tell us what goals and what depth we can achieve in our strategic plan, and what we can do in the strategic plan in the immediate future, and what we may have to look at as a long-term approach to certain aspects of the plan. So we want to drive this thing in the appropriate manner. You know, you don't want the cart ahead of the horse. You've got to have it the other way around. And so that's what we're trying to do here. And so we'll be looking at how this went by the end of the year when you look at the synopsis, progress reports, and so on, and that will help drive the next plan and what we weren't able to achieve or what we want to enhance, we can look at with our next strategic plan. So with that, if there's no more comment, Councillor Holmes.
I just want to make a comment also about the 4 pillars of sustainability model that we adopted. There was a speaker from Okanagan College at the Philosopher's Cafe a few weeks ago who spoke about how the tension between each pillar, there's always tension between each of the 4 pillars, but that's what energizes each pillar and creates this vibrancy in the community. And so I'm excited as Councillor Barkwell is, and what also excites me is that when we were doing the whole strategic planning, I thought the district staff really got behind and supported the 4-pillar approach, and that I think they're as enthusiastic as we are about it. So.
Thank you, and I don't want to belabor it, but I guess when you see our approach to some of the procedural changes we've made and what we hope to do to drive the next strategic plan, is that public engagement is key, and the exchange with the public. The CAO?
Mr. Mayor, I would be remiss if I did not mention we've heard the work that directors did in pitching
Staff,
with council, but Karen Jones put this product together. Most of us deal in words. She deals in images and graphics, and I'd just like to acknowledge her efforts. It wouldn't be half the document it is without her involvement. She's a bit of a pearl, and I don't mean an irritant. She she does a marvelous job for Summerland.
Karen is wonderful, and I consider a real gem and a real asset to our staff. And of course, there was staff input overall in this, and so I appreciate their work as well. So it's very brief, but can I have a recommendation that the council approve the 2015-2019 strategic plan? Councillor Carlson, mover. Seconder, Councillor Peak. Sorry.
Mr. Mayor, there should be an opportunity, and it's
Oh,
fine with a
sorry.
resolution on the floor, though, to invite the public.
Oh, right,
And
okay, I'm sorry.
public wishes to comment on it.
That's correct. I've actually have it highlighted and bypassed right through. So prior to doing what I just tried to do, is there any comment from the public regarding the strategic plan? Got one here and another one coming.
Hi, I'm Barbara Thorburn from 7110 Switchback Road, and I just want to congratulate the council and staff for putting together a really good beginnings of strategic plan, and I'm very impressed with the document, so kudos to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Just
Bob?
also to echo that, it looks like a great document to me, and I only just had a brief chance to take a look at it, but I congratulate you also. We also at the Food Bank and Resource Centre have a new strategic plan as well, so I'll look forward to comparing the two documents later on.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any comments? So any further comment? And I'll ask a third time, any other comments? With that, I guess we've had a mover, Councillor Carlson, Councillor Peak, seconder. All in favor? Thank you. Motion is carried. Thank you. So CAO, I guess you're up again. Now, corporate officer, do you want to address this before we proceed?
No, I will just refer this to the CAO on council advisory committees.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council advisory committees are actually a really important way that councils typically engage a community. There are a variety of techniques, but I don't think you'll find a municipality in the province, probably in the world, that doesn't have a set of advisory committees of some shape or form. For 2015, Council is considering a core committee structure that's really similar to previous years, with the addition of an Agriculture Advisory Committee, a Water Advisory Committee, and a Staff Technical Committee focusing on corporate innovations and technology. As well, Council is considering striking a Select Committee consisting of the Mayor and 2 councillors to refresh committee terms of reference while the committee member recruitment and selection process gets underway. By the beginning of May, the revised advisory committee system should be up and running. That's the hope. If council would like to keep their options open on committee structure while the select committee completes its work, you could adjust the recommendation in paragraph 1 to state council receive rather than council approve in principle. I think, again, putting this committee structure together at the same time that the strategic plan was being put together made it, a little bit more challenging. Trying to do 2 at once, it always helps to have your strategic plan in place first, and then you design your committees around where your directions are. So not wanting to push the council in one direction or another, it might be wise at this point simply to receive as opposed to approve in principle the structure. You then have your select committee appointed. The select committee can bore into the details and make sure that the committee structure really meets where you wish to go. And that doesn't bother me as the author of this at all. It's really your set of advisory committees. We simply tried to standardize what had been there before. I think you need more time to go through and make the adjustments that give you the comfort level, because this is a four-year plan for you. So I would suggest, if you'd like to keep it a little more neutral, just you could receive it in the first part and then go with the other 2 recommendations.
Thank you. I appreciate that, CAO, and thank you for your words. I had concerns about the wording of the recommendation. We discussed this earlier and felt that I was certainly happier with the words receive the recommendation, and because there are aspects of the committee's structure and terms of reference that I think needs to be examined a little more closely, and there are some things that I have I think a appreciation of how they need to be addressed, and that revolves around the idea that advisory committees are a method or a way of council reaching into the community and seeking input, and that input needs to be coming from the public and driven by the public that are on the committee, not driven by council members, other than providing information through staff perhaps and liaison information by the councillors. So you'll see some comments in there that we will be likely changing once the steering and the select committee looks at it, because I don't personally, I personally believe that the chairman of the committee should, in conjunction with the committee itself, with the consultations with staff, actually come up with the agenda. It will not be put together by staff or the council liaison, as far as I'm concerned. And the liaison will not have a vote on the committee, and nor can that liaison be chair. And I think by doing that ensures that the committee members take possession of their role and take possession of authoring their drive from their thoughts from the community. So, and I look at it down the road as being an opportunity when advisory committees bring recommendations to council, that there will be adequate consultation on those recommendations by council with the advisory committee, so that we get a full reflection of what was behind the recommendations. So, and I think this goes along with a lot of the intent that you've already seen in, I think, coming back to it, but our changes in our procedural bylaw, for example, where and you saw it tonight, we had some opportunities for the public to participate. So with that, any comments by council? Councillor Carlson?
Can you tell me what the difference is between a committee and a commission? And is there a need for two words?
Yeah, generally a commission is given a little more authority in the municipal, or sorry, in the Community Charter and Local Government Act. For example, you would have in some places a Parks and Recreation Committee which would have strictly an advisory function. So they would advise the staff, they would advise council with recommendations. If it became a commission, then generally it's struck by bylaw and it has a greater opportunity to manage budget and more operational control, and they might even go so far as to direct staff. So it's a commission. Another good example would be an economic development commission. Might be completely autonomous, independent from council. It would get its budget each year and it would just operate on its own, as opposed to reporting back to council with only the authority to recommend.
So does that mean that something like the Water Advisory Committee potentially could be a commission if they were actually giving really solid advice? Like, are those things we can change or not?
The one place I've seen a water commission would be in Greater Victoria, when there's a whole series of municipalities that rely on the one body, and so the commission had authority itself to set rates on its own without going back to all of the municipalities. I'm not sure in Summerland's case, you've got one municipality. I think you would probably want to leave that authority and rest with council. So likely it would stay as a committee, I would think.
Councillor Holmes.
Don't mean to be pedantic, but I will. So we're changing the recommendation, council, which suggests in the second paragraph we changed it to fine-tune the council committee structure and terms of reference.
Pedantic is good. Yes, that would be the case. And in fact, Mr. Mayor, tying into that comment, it might be an opportunity to use the same resolution to appoint yourself and two councillors, if you wish to do it in the one motion, or you could do it separately afterwards.
Okay. We haven't actually discussed who might be on that select committee. That's the only problem. So can we do that we have to wait another council period, do we? Okay, well.
Well, I think you probably, if the council were prepared to give the mayor in this case the authority to appoint,
Well, I don't see anything wrong with, and put the councillors on the spot right now. Who would like to participate in the select committee along with me? 2 members of council.
I would, but I'll be away, so.
Okay, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Peak, jumped at the opportunity. There you go. So we have our select committee. And so we'll make that a separate motion after this.
Mr. Mayor, we could include it with the full motion.
Sure. So as soon as you're ready, Corporate Officer, we will
You want me to read that?
read that, please.
Okay. That council receive the council advisory committee structure in terms of reference outlined in the report from the interim CAO dated March 17th, 2015, and that council strike a 3-person select committee consisting of Mayor Waterman and Councillor Holmes and Councillor Peak to fine-tune the council committee structure and terms of reference. And further, that council directs staff to canvass the community for volunteers to serve on council committees through a direct mail approach to stakeholder organizations, newspaper advertisements, newsletter feature, website, and open house.
Thank you. May I have a mover of the recommendation, please? Councillor Peak. Councillor Carlson. Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
When,
No, go ahead, pull your mic.
when will this committee be, or this small committee be coming back to discuss committees?
I hope pretty quick.
Yeah. Won't take long. Go ahead.
Mr. President, the intent would be either to come back at a meeting on its own and say, here are the changes we recommend, or if it happened to coincide with canvassing the community for volunteers, to bring it all back to council at one meeting. Depends how quickly they were able to go through the terms of reference.
Yeah, it might be wise to put it all together, I think, in terms of timing. But we'll see how it goes, perhaps. So, if we're ready, can all in favor, please, we'll take the vote. Thank you. Against? None against? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
So
We
we're-
have no new business tonight. Under bylaws, we have 3 bylaws for adoption. The first bylaw is 2015-004, Amendment to Fees and Charges Bylaw with respect to the electric rates. And I would need a mover and seconder for each separate bylaw.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have some comments from the Finance Department, please?
I could refer to our Manager of Finance, Renee Belek,
Yeah.
if there are any questions.
Thank you. Do you have any comments to add to this, Renee, please?
No, I think council has reviewed everything and are aware of the recommended rates of increase. So it's just final approval that we're looking for.
So we do have 10.1 and then 10.2, 10.3,
And 10.3.
three separate ones, right. Okay. Council, you ready to look at the first one? Okay. You've had the bylaw read?
Yes.
So,
Would you like me to read them out, Mayor Waterman?
yeah, well, are we going to do them all at once, or are we going to do
No,
them
we'll do one at a time.
in a time? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, read the first one then, please.
That bylaw 2015-004, Amendment to Fees and Charges Bylaw Number 98001, Electric Rates be adopted.
Thank you. Motion to approve, please. Thank you, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Peak, all in favor? Thank you. Motion is carried. Okay, 10.2.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bylaw 2015-005, Amendment of Fees and Charges Bylaw Number 98001, Water Rates. That bylaw 2015-005, Amendment to Fees and Charges Bylaw Number 98001, Water Rates be adopted.
Any comments from the Finance Department?
No, same thing.
We're fine, okay, thank you. Council, take the vote. All in favor? Well, actually, we should move the recommendation, please. Motion, Councillor Carlson, Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Thank you, motion is carried. It's getting hot in this place.
Thank you. Next, bylaw 2015-006, Amendment to Fees and Charges Bylaw Number 98001, Sewer be adopted.
Okay, may I have a mover, please? Councillor Carlson. Councillor Barkle? Okay, any discussion at all? Any comments? Hearing none? All in favor? Thank you, motion's carried, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next, we have councillor reports, and we'll start off tonight. Councillor Richard Barkwell has a notice of motion, and I will refer that to him.
Mr. Mayor, this is a notice of motion that says that council directs staff to bring a water rate bylaw amendment forward for council consideration at the April 27th, 2015 regular council meeting, providing a special irrigation rate for those agricultural properties under 2 acres wanting unmetered irrigation service for the 2015 irrigation season, and that this rate should approximate the 2011 charges. As you know, Mr. Mayor, that there's a number of people in the community with irrigation water service that is less than, on parcels less than 2 acres that haven't been charged. And my understanding from talking to some of them is that it's worse than originally presented. It since 2010 was the last time they received their bill. So it's been 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2014 that they were not charged for this service. So I'm proposing that if they want their water turned on this spring, that they should be charged that the rate that was previously charged back in the approximately the 2010-2011 era. Their objections previously were the large increase that was arbitrarily imposed upon them without consultation. The people I've spoken to say they don't mind paying something. They just want it to be reasonable. Nobody objected to the rates that were previously charged. And therefore, when I look at the fact that we raised water rates in Summerland 5% this year, and all these people are not paying and they're willing to pay, that we should go to the effort to send bills to those who get their water turned on. That's my.
Thank you. I think I want to make, there's one correction that I caught that needed to be made in the verbiage here, where it actually puts the sort of a bit of a wrong slant on the message, where it says under 2 acres, those agricultural properties under 2 acres wanting unmetered. I think you actually implied with unmetered irrigation service. I don't think anybody actually wanted unmetered. It's just the way things worked out.
Yeah, some of that could be misinterpreted, Your Honor.
I'd prefer, because there's a bit of an implication there that people were trying to slide by, or that they actually wanted to proceed with unmetered situation.
No.
I don't think that's the case from your own personal comments, so I'd appreciate it if we could make that slight change in your motion, if that's agreeable to you. Would that be regarded as an amendment to the motion, Corporate Officer or CAO?
Yeah.
Okay. You agreeable to that amendment?
Yes, what word do you select?
Take out the word wanting and put in with.
With.
Is that acceptable?
And then we'll vote.
Pardon me?
We'll vote.
Yeah, we will. So first of all, we need to vote on the amendment, and it's acceptable to the mover.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
You need to, the first vote would be, it's a notice of motion, so
Okay.
Councillor Barco can actually, without an amendment, adjust his motion, and then
okay,
he needs a
right.
seconder before council
It has to come before
discuss
us
it.
again here. So you're willing to do that?
So we're talking about getting it before council right now, right? I need a seconder for this notice of motion, do we? So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a
And
seconder.
now we'll do a friendly amendment to change the,
I think you've, if you're comfortable, it's already been made.
yeah, okay.
Thank you. Good. I just didn't make a big deal of it, but I thought it was important to put that in.
Yeah.
So we now are voting on moving it towards the 27th or
Yes.
not? Okay.
Moved and seconded.
Yeah, we will.
It's been moved and seconded for discussion
Okay, thank
tonight.
you. Okay. So we're up for discussion from council, please, on this notice of motion. Councillor Peak.
Well, certainly when Richard brought this forward, I certainly understood where he was coming from, and I realized that people really do want to contribute to the cost of the water. It's just that there was so much detail and so many contradicting facts and letters sent in the past that council decided that maybe we'd just leave it. But I certainly understand with it coming back before us and the emails we've all received and the discussion that I know that everyone's been involved in, I see the reason for doing this is clear. I just want to make sure that we do, as Richard has said, in a fair and reasonable manner. I'm not quite aware what the 2010-11 charges are, but I'll be looking at some of that in the interim between now and the April 27th meeting, so I better understand when that comes back to us.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
I think that it makes sense that we will be charging people for the water that they are receiving. However, I also think we need to be very careful that if we go ahead and start charging people for this water, they realize this is going to change once we have our irrigation meter rate set. This, a few years of not knowing what's going on and getting confused, and now we're changing the message again. So I think we have to be very clear about what it is that we're doing if this does go ahead, because people may get confused, people may not get it, because they're not here listening to the conversation.
Good point. Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
I have some questions of staff. I know what they were collecting in 2010 wasn't very much. It was something like $65 a year for some properties, I think. I would like to have an idea, is it worth the administration to collect that? I mean, how much money are we talking about here? How much would we if we charged everybody with $10,000, what would that do for our finances?
The rough number would be $20,000 this year.
Per year?
Per year, yeah. But we'd just be charging for this year.
Yeah, right, right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the other question, so it's, some people don't have meters and they're receiving unmetered water, but some people did receive a pit meter, right? So are they being metered and charged metered water right now? And then there's some people whose properties have been disconnected entirely from that second line. So what happens with these people?
First of all, I'm no expert on this issue, and there's a lot of history. But I think if you've already been excuse me, disconnected, then you're not going to be charged for something that you've been disconnected for. But suffice it to say, we would come back with a report that would hopefully provide an element of fairness, and you could then make your decision as to whether it's fair or not. But I just found this issue rather, I don't want to say it, rather complicated, and with lots of different twists and depending on different sizes of properties. And I just don't think I just don't have that good answer for you tonight.
Okay, I think I'm going to, Councillor Barclay.
I just want to be clear that there are a lot of issues that this doesn't address. The people have brought up, it's not going to address the issue of people who have been disconnected and want to be reconnected or anything like that. It's simply that if they are connected and they want their water turned on, I believe that it shouldn't be any more of a burden to our staff to send a bill to those people as to any other bill. And that's where I'm coming from. It clearly isn't going to address all the problems we've got in other respects, but it's a start.
Councillor Booth. Okay, thank you.
That's what I'd like the staff to answer.
What's that?
Will it be a burden to staff, and will it set back the timetable for reviewing the reirrigation rates, what we really need to address?
It won't. We've had discussions at staff for the last month or so about it. We would be bringing forward a bylaw. It won't be in the form of a parcel tax. There won't be any change to a roll. That won't be required. It'll simply be a special user fee, one-time annual fee. It can be done at 2 meetings of council. And staff are prepared if the priority for council will have it on the 27th.
Councillor Holmes, yes? Why don't you pull that in and leave it there?
Then why wasn't this option presented to us in December? I know you weren't here, but it's...
That's why.
I mean, going back into the report, I think the option was there for council to either charge or not charge people, and council decided to not charge. I don't know if you were given different options on how to charge, but I think you had the option of do it or not, and you chose not to at that time, and now there seems to be an interest in looking at doing it. So
I think I'm going to jump in here since everybody's had a good chance. The history of charging for water in Summerland goes back a ways, and there's been a lot of to and fro and what I call flip-flopping on policy going back quite some period of time. And I think we were, looking at domestic rates, which is this is not, but we finally came up with a fair and equitable way of charging for water for the domestic use. And that actually involved using, the actual area irrigated by any particular lot is a very fair approach, and I think everybody realizes that now. Now, when the letter came out in 2011, I think Mr. Cowan might be able to correct me on this. The one from Mr. Darling? Yeah.
The original one?
Well, I'll allow you to speak in just a minute. I just want to address that. And at any rate, the letter came out saying they would be charged, and then information came forward through to our CAO, Mr. Tom Day at the time, who recognized that a group of residents had not been adequately consulted on that charge. And so, in all fairness, we looked at it and said, no, they did require a proper consultation. And that's upon recommendation of our CAO at the time, and that's where council took the direction from. And so that was one of our early first decisions, and since that time there's been consideration that it wasn't equitable in the sense that some people were being charged and other people were bearing the burden of costs. So I think that's where Councillor Barkle is coming from with respect to his motion, if I'm correct, right? So at the risk of flip-flopping again, which I just don't like doing, I think there was an adequate representation by Mr. Day that proper consultation needed to be taken, but at the same time, people are getting unmetered water and not paying for it. So I think at the very least, I would like to move this motion forward to be considered at the 27th of April, if that's my opinion at this point. Anybody else like to comment on that? So, Corporate Officer, like to...
Yes, you're ready to call the vote on the
Okay.
motion.
So, I have we've got a mover and seconder, so all in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried for consideration on April 27th.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So I assume there'll be additional staff information for us? Okay, thank you.
Now we'll continue with councillor reports.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll start with Councillor Traynor, please.
I would just like to say it's very hot in here. I'm so hot. Anyway.
I tried to turn it down there. I don't know if it's turned off.
It says 24 degrees.
Yeah, it's 24. We're set at 18.
Okay. Mine's really short tonight. I just wanted to say that I attended the Healthy Living Fair on behalf of Summerland Council, which was on March 14th, last Saturday, in Penticton, and it was really interesting. It was a free event, so they had a really good turnout. Dr. Art Hister spoke. He's quite a famous doctor. He appears on Global News all the time, and he spoke for about an hour, and he's really funny. He uses a lot of humor, so he had the crowd engaged. It was good. I've been continuing to work with Councillor Boot and Mayor Waterman on the OCP Review Committee. That's been really interesting, and we're wrapping, I believe our last meeting is tomorrow.
That's correct.
And I just wanted to mention, I just found out about this a couple days ago. Sadie is having their annual fundraiser on Tuesday, April 14th at Zia's. And tickets are $35. It's a dinner and auction, so I thought I would just give them a little plug tonight. So again, if you want to get tickets, they're available at Zia's, Royal LePage, Parkside, and the Beanery. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Barkle.
Thank you, Mayor Waterman. I attended the monthly meeting for the Summerland Heritage Advisory Committee, and they're very grateful that they were consulted by Ian McIntosh concerning the naming of a road in the new subdivision. And the the Summerland Heritage Advisory Committee was unanimous in wanting a name of a Summerland pioneer, and it quickly came down to a Summerland pioneer who happened to also have lived in the Trout Creek area and who died in the First World War. And so they've recommended to the Mr. McIntosh that the name for the new road in the subdivision should be Treffry, after Mr. Treffry that lived down there near, and his house is still there near the highway by the creek. That would be about the only thing I have to report on this week.
Thank you. Councillor Booth.
Attended the RDOS meeting with Mayor Waterman on March the 12th. Those are full-day meetings. Strategic planning meetings and the OCP review meetings, which are wrapping up tomorrow. Let's see what else. Oh, I wanted to bring the gallery here, just bring this to their attention. You probably remember that Dr. Joe Mazza of Mazza Innovation won a Chamber of Commerce Award for Science and Innovation. Recently in the Penticton Western News, so March the 20th, just 3 days ago, there was an article there that he has also won an international award for the most innovative ingredient at the Ingredia 2015 show. And he won that award for his dietary supplements that he extracts from cranberries, blueberries, and green tea. And his product is called PhytoClean. He uses water instead of alcohol or other organic solvents. So they are 100% pure plant extracts without any traces of solvents or anything in them. So kudos to Dr. Joe Mazza. I have also been asked if I would mention that on Sunday, March the 29th, so this Sunday, beginning at 5 o'clock with appetizers, supper will be served 5:30 at the Summerland United Church. It is a fundraiser for the Food Bank and Resource Center. There is a silent auction and a live auction, and cost of tickets are $10. So again, the district already supports the Food Bank and Resource Center, as does Summerland United Church and the community as a whole. I think this would be something that you might want to put on your calendar and enjoy a lovely lasagna dinner. Finally, Tim is typing over there. I just want to add my thank yous, huge thank yous to Mayor Waterman and other councillors that have expressed that. As you know, I'm a newbie, and Tim has been so helpful in saying, yes, you can do that. Oh, you might want to think about that. Oh, I think you should let Mayor Waterman know that. Those kinds of things. So I very much appreciate you holding my hand and guiding me through these initial few months. We're gonna miss you.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
I've got a couple of things, and they all seem to be related to seeds and stuff. The Friends of the Gardens have had some really successful events in the last month, and they'll have some more coming up. It's worth checking it out. It seems that they've had a really good revitalization of their board and of their funding, and things are moving along. They get people participating from up and down the valley, so that's a big asset for our town. RDOS has composters available that you can purchase here at District Hall downstairs. CD Saturday is on March 28th, which is Saturday. This IOOF Hall. What time does it start, Erin? Is it morning? 10 a.m. So I would imagine those gardeners should get out, and people that don't know how to garden, someone there will teach you how. And the final thing is that we're having a really early spring, and that means that all of the orchards are about 2 weeks early in blossom, so cross your fingers that it doesn't get cold, because that wouldn't be good for anybody at this point in the game.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Yes, I know we're having an early spring because my front lawn's already full of dandelions.
Oh, wine.
The last couple of weeks I've met with the new Arts Council Board, the Summerland Singers and Players, Rotary Club, and Christine at the Chamber of Commerce. In each case, I spoke to them and answered questions about the Community Cultural Task Force that we'll be starting. And the response has been very positive across the board, across the community, and I'm really looking forward to the input from these organizations and other organizations into the whole process. So, And then finally, I also just want to thank Tim as well for all your help and advice that you've given us. And I think, unlike Tony, I think he advised me more, you better not let Mayor Waterman know about that.
I hate to tell you, but he tells me everything.
That's a good thing.
Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much. I too attended the Healthy Living Fair and really enjoyed it. The poor nursing student that did a BMI reading on me was very embarrassed to tell me that I was slightly overweight, but not to be too worried about it and not to take it too seriously. Anyway, we had some fun with that one, but there were a lot of interesting vendors there, and there was good discussion with the people I talked to. I met a lot of neighbors. It was really a good Saturday morning. I also came back and went to the vendor market, which was held at the United Church, and they're going to do that on a regular basis. And there were some interesting products there as well. So I encourage anyone, if they see the sign out, to go and have a look at it. I've been attending the Trail of the Okanagan meetings, and they're making good progress and looking forward to the opening of a multi-use trail. And they will be planning a grand opening, and certainly want Peter Waterman as our representative at council and councillor members to be there, and they'll be looking for some great ideas to make that a really good celebration when it comes about, which will probably be in the early summer. The other thing that I went to was the chief building official here, Richard Cook. I hope to sponsor at the Timber Mart on the 19th. It was a presentation, a seminar for all the construction industry on the changes in the code, and it was extremely well attended. There were 72 construction people there. The room was filled. They had great discussion. I think they could have done with mics because it would have been a little better to hear, but I have to thank Timber Mart. They did a terrific job of hosting it, and Robert did a good job of pulling it together. It was well done.
Thank you. So we end up with our last session here for the evening, and we have a public and media question period, so I invite the public to come forward if they'd like. Please do.
Do I have to repeat my name and all that again?
No, just your
Just
name.
get to it, get it over with, okay. Councillor Peak was asking about what the, well, here's my 2010 irrigation bill. Okay, I'm assessed at half an acre because one half turned into swamp and the house came out. So anyhow, basically the bills were the irrigation rate per acre that the farmers are charged, and then it's prorated down to what your lot size was on the assessment roll that disappeared. I think that if you go back through the files and you went back to 2010 and you dragged up all these invoices that went out with the assessment roll numbers on them, that will give you the information that is needed to determine what lot sizes each person on that assessment roll was charged for. Simple. And could make a lot of money. That's all I have to say, and thank you very much, Council.
How much was it?
Oh, well, I didn't add the 5% because the increases have happened since then, so whatever it is that the orchardists or wherever are paying for per acre, which I believe is about $130 a month, a season, I mean, per acre, something like that. I worked this one out here. Here we go. This one in 2010 was $135.28 per acre, of which I paid half of because I'm assessed for half an acre. It's gone up since then, but I'm sure any orchardist will be glad to help tell you how much his irrigation bill per acre is per year. So, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment or a question? Nobody else, so any comments or questions by the press, please? Kylie, yes, go ahead.
My irrigation bill for a half an acre was about $30 a year. And please don't make that bit graphic. I did speak with Don Darling this morning, and as you know, there are about 280 parcels of property, parcels in the municipality that fall under one half to, or under 2 acre.
2 hectares,
size.
yeah.
And he said that about half of the owners, about half of those properties have commented on whether they want the water continued or not, and half of those have declined. So that's about 70. So you're looking at about 210 properties.
That's
that
correct.
actually,
Yeah.
want, continue. Okay, we have some questions, and the first one does deal with water, and that is with the reinstatement of the Water Advisory Committee. It says that water experts will advise on water quality and quantity matters. Now, considering that within the past few years, we've had several projects that have dealt both with quality and quantity, namely the raising of Thirst Dam, the building of the water treatment plant, and that system separation and the water metering are well underway. What is the rationale for reinstating the Water Advisory Committee?
Well, we are the second largest watershed in the valley, behind Mission Creek, and it continues to be a major concern that water is addressed appropriately, and we are moving into discussing irrigator rates for metered water, and that'll be one of the issues. And in addition, there are a whole bunch of a number of other users that will provide input to council on issues surrounding water as we go forward. And I think, again, what's mentioned in there, one of the refinements we hope to make to the committees is there will be an increase in numbers to that committee in particular, I believe. And the word expert was used rather loosely in the sense that we wanted to have people on that committee that had a good depth of experience, and there will indeed be probably a couple of experts in the field. We do have several in the community, but also we're hoping that there will be people that will have a consuming interest in water that will also learn about the water situation in the municipality. And I believe that we have an irrigation or a water master plan that a good part of the community needs to be familiar with, and that committee will be reviewing that for their edification. And I think part of the role of that committee is to bring the issues around water, not just to council, but to the community as a whole. We'll see a slightly different drive from some of these committees than has been in the past. As I mentioned before, I feel that the agendas will be generated largely by the committee itself, and there will be input by staff for specific requirements that council may have of the committee. But I'm going to leave it more open to the committees to decide what those agendas might be. And you'll see on other, well, I'll let you ask any more questions if you have.
Thank you. I'm going on to the strategic plan.
Okay.
You mentioned that the sessions were facilitated.
Mm-hmm.
Who did it?
Mr. Dan Dinsmore.
Okay.
Well, and our CAO, yes, of course.
Why I can understand why at this stage you didn't ask for public input into the strategic plan, but I fail to see why these meetings had to be in camera, that the public could not observe what was happening. And that, I can understand, as I said, why you couldn't have input, but I would like to know what the rationale was for having them in camera.
I'll let the CAO answer that.
Yeah, the community charter provides a few opportunities for council to meet in camera. You'll find that every municipality in the province meets in camera to at least set up the structure of the plan, and that's exactly what happened here. Again, it's one of the few areas that's provided when you put your objectives together. You can meet in camera because it really does provide a free flow of thinking.
Well, I've read the community charter on that, and the section on 90, there was one in the L part, was discussions with municipal officers and employees respecting municipal objectives, measure and progress reports for the purposes of preparing an annual report. And the way I read that is that if you're preparing an annual report at the end of something, then then it could be in camera. But to actually set up the plan on which you will report, that was the part I didn't see where the in-camera, that was happening.
I would say that you could check it out with every municipality. It's just the reverse. The annual report, you're simply reporting on what's happened already, and I've never been to an in-camera meeting on an annual report. It's simply prepared and then provided to council and the community at the same time. I have to go through the legislation with you, and I'd be prepared to do that. I think it does provide for an in-camera meeting for strategic planning.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next question is, why were not these in-camera, the existence of the in-camera meetings made public? Through the mayor, I guess.
Yes, go ahead. I'll have the corporate officer answer that question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, every instance where there is an in-camera session, there is a special council meeting agenda prepared quoting the resolution to go in camera prior to that in-camera meeting.
That's true for the March 9th one, but I could not find one for the March 16th.
Yes, there was one posted. Absolutely.
And when was that, on what agenda was that one?
Well, I would have to go downstairs and check, but I can provide that agenda to you.
Yeah, if you would.
Yeah.
Because I went back and I checked on it, and it wasn't, I saw only the March 9th, which followed that regular council meeting.
And if you also refer to the minutes, when a special council meeting agenda is prepared, there are also minutes after the fact.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll provide that to you.
Thank you. Oh, and by the way, having asked those questions, I do want to say that I found the strategic plan very comprehensive, detailed, and very well presented.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Mr. Arndt? No? Fine. Okay, can I have a motion for adjournment, please? Councillor Boot, Councillor Holmes, seconder, all in favor? Thank you. Motion, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.